mine is not working from Thursday onwards. So,
okay. Very strange.
yeah, correct. So I had to open via this web.
Okay. We'll start.
Yeah.
So we have to wait for Padma Shri, or I don't know. Anyway, so yesterday, day before, I had a very nice experience. Wanted to share with all of you before we go into the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So what I had a vision. I think I had this vision yesterday morning. Is that we need to follow something, can be any philosophy or anything, that can make us to stop the breath forever. If that cannot happen, that means the rebirth is guaranteed. That means within this life to be ended, we should be able to stop the breath at will. When we say stop the breath at will, it means that the heart is stopped and all the activities are also stopped, but the person is fully awake. And that is the state of Brahman or consciousness or whatever we want to call that as. So if we can do that through whatever methodology we are following or whatever process we are following, that should be fair. Okay. So this is the.
Are you talking about Ichha Marana?
No. It is not Marana. It is not death. It's not death. See, now in the case of Kriya Yoga, there is a book which I have sent to Lata, and she's also been reading on Kriya Yoga. It talks about prana being stopped. And if you look at the Bhagavad Gita 8th chapter, in that he says that the prana has to be brought into the forehead and should be stopped there. So what is this stopping means? This breath is connected to the mind, or rather mind and breath go together. So first foremost is that the mind believes that it itself is the body, then it believes that it itself is the mind, and then it itself is the consciousness. So it keeps on adding stuff over one after the other. So this madness of what mind gets created is the one which we have to stop. So it can be called as prana, it can be called by whatever name. Again, it is just a name. But the objective here is that if you are going in meditation, then the person should be able to stop his complete activities. So he should be able to stop his breath, stop the heart, stop all process from happening, because it's just a process. There is a physical process, there is a mental process, there is no person there. So the presumption is made is that a person is sitting there or something is sitting there and then controlling it and doing something like that. But in reality, nothing of that exists. It's only the consciousness which comes and goes away in the five senses. And there is an overall consciousness which is there irrespective of anything being there or not there. So as long as that consciousness stays, this consciousness which is coming and going can do whatever it wants. But when that consciousness moves away, this consciousness has got no standing by itself. And this is what is called a Chidabhasa or reflected consciousness. It is not dependent. That one is not dependent on this. However, this is dependent on that. And that is the reason Krishna says that they are in me, but I am not there in them. So this original consciousness, like in the sun or in the case of moon, and the reflected consciousness as in the buckets. The bucket falls down because end of the karma, but that doesn't close anything or happen anything to that moon which is there. So if at all this moon which is reflecting on the water in the bucket were to merge or has to merge, that means that the breath has to be stopped. And also the bodily process has to be stopped. So the mental process has to be stopped and the bodily process has to be stopped. If these two cannot be stopped, then there is no way, except for intellectual knowledge, one can gain, can never break the cycle of samsara. So on Saturday or Sunday, whichever that early morning is, I got this beautiful vision that do something in this life which will stop the breath. It is not about Ichcha Marana. You are not dying. There is nothing to die there. The person's mind is dying. That's all. There's nothing else being dead. So if I can stay in that position for a long period of time, not exceeding 7 days, then I would have done what should be done, just like Paramahamsa, Ramkrishna Paramahamsa went into that samadhi for 5 days, where there was no heartbeat, there was no person, there was nothing was there. We need to be in that state all the time, not exceeding 7 days, again come back, stay for some time, and again go into that for next 7 days, like that. If we can do it, irrespective of which philosophy or what we are following, then you have liberated yourself at the time of death. Because when the chittas are not going to arise again, and then there is no birth. If the chittas were to rise again, then there is a rebirth. So this is what it is. Methodology can vary, but what we need to achieve is this. Any questions? So the goal is this. So what we are doing is we are gaining the knowledge on how to do it. And that's the reason from the second chapter onwards of Bhagavad Gita, he keeps on saying that Jnana Yogi will do like this and a Bhakti Yogi will do like this. Bhakti Yogi will come to me and Jnana Yogi will do it directly. So whether you do it directly by yourself or you go through Krishna or through whichever route you want, but ultimately the objective is to stop that mental play. Now, also we need to understand that we all are in Viparyaya, and that is the exact thing what Patanjali talks about. So he talks about Vrittayaha Panchataya Klishta Aklishta Pramana Viparyaya Vikalpa Nidra Smritayaha. In that there is Viparyaya. Viparyaya means, if we were to take that sutra, then he talks about Viparyayo Mithya Jnanam Atadrupam Pratishtam. So what it really means is that we call something as a name. So let's say we are talking about COVID-19. What you need to do is you need to keep on talking about that. There is no rupa of that COVID actually, but we create a rupa in the mind. Now that COVID is very well established in the mind. Similarly, we can take idli or dosa or vada or husband or wife or whatever we want to call, and that rupa gets established, which doesn't have actually any rupa at all. There is no Rupa. Because of the Mithya Jnanam, that is wrong knowledge, or rather, it is Jnana, wisdom. It's a wrong wisdom what has been put in place versus the original. What's the original? Original is only 5 elements, but it is called as idli. So now what has happened? The 5 elements are replaced by idli. So now that rupa has taken over, which is mithya jnanam. So as long as we have this idli in the mind can never be at peace. So the breathing is going to continue because I need idli. And at any point in time, idli cannot be supplied because it's a name. But what gets supplied is the 5 element. But what is called as idli. So every time there is an identification of idli, but what is really going inside the stomach of a person is Prithvi, Apo, Vayo, Tejo. That's all what is going. Out of 5, 4 are going. It occupies the space, so then the 5th element is also there. After some time, the body will digest all these 5 through a process called a Jataragni and Dhatu Agni. So these are the Agni, so rather we'll call it as burning fire. So the food is put in fire, it burns out completely. Whatever nutrients have to be extracted is extracted without the person telling what has to be done and how it has to be extracted. So the person believes that it is digested and then he eats again. Now this time he eats sambar and rice. There is no sambar, there is no rice, it's again 5 elements, but mithya jnana is there, so he thinks he is eating sambar and or rasam or whatever he prepares or she prepares and keeps on burning it in the fire. So then that gets into kama agni because then there is a desire to eat this or eat that, touch this, touch that, see this, see that, hear this, hear that, smell this, smell that. So these 5 senses along with the 5 elements are in combination called as a human being or a being. And since he is walking on 2 legs and he has a better mental ability, he is called as a human being. So basically, this mind can exist in anything. So right present, its mind is urshitaha. So that means it is elevated, and due to that elevation of the mind, it is in human form. It's nothing like there is a human being sitting there. It's a human form taken based upon the state of the mind. It's not state of a person. There's no person there. It's a state of mind. At the time of death, what state this person was in, and that kind of body has been delivered to that person. That's all what it is, or to that being, or to that mind, basically. So, we need to come out of this mithya jnanam. So, viparyayo mithya jnanam atadrupam pratishtam. The wrong rupa has now taken over the right rupa. So, we can never see what is true reality. We just see everything as an object without those 5 elements and call that as this or that, nama and rupa. So as long as we have nama and rupa, so long the breathing is going to be there. Once the nama and rupa goes away, there is no breathing because there is no mind. And with that, the person is released. So, whichever philosophy that takes you to break this nama and rupa, stops breathing forever, the person gets liberated. If the person were to just understand everything is a process, the five senses are a process, then he still has not got liberated, but he has got realized. He has realized that there is no he or she existing, it is just the process. So, this Nama and Rupa going over and then stopping the breath forever, or rather, while in human form, stopping it at will for not more than 7 days, because after 7 days the body cannot hold on to. So he comes back in 7 days and again goes for another 7 days. If we can do this, then we have achieved what should be achieved, done what should be done, and the brahmacharya is completely followed. So this is the vision what I got. Question?
So the breath will stop forever. Means that afterward there is no breathing at all.
No breathing at all, no heartbeat, no movement of anything.
But you can stay like that only for 7 days, right?
Yes, you can stay there for 7. So you can make your wish for 7 days, and after 7 days you automatically come back.
Then you will start breathing again, right?
Then you'll again start breathing. Again you go off for 7 days. It's like you closing your home for 7 days.
Yeah, okay. So you have to continuously do that.
Yes, till you end your life. So when you come back, you are.
But somebody has to preserve your body for
Yes.
that 7 days.
Yes.
You have to inform somebody.
Yes, I have to inform my wife that I am going off. Please take care of this, because the person wouldn't have died. So even if they were to take him to the hospital, he is perfectly. The heat is there, the consciousness is there, and then the IU is there. So he doesn't feel anything.
Okay.
He doesn't feel
So,
anything. Yeah, go ahead.
The caretaker can call you whenever required. Is there that communication still working?
No, nothing will work. If he is carried anywhere also, he will not come to know that he's been carried. His body has been carried to so many places.
Mm-hmm.
This is what that needs to be done. Whether through Kriya Yoga or Bhakti Yoga or by Jnana Yoga or whichever yoga it is.
Yeah, I have read the same thing in that Lahiri's book, Lahiri Mahashaya's book. So it is mentioned, same thing.
Yes, I have not read his biography, but day before or yesterday I got this vision, and also how to do it as well. So I got both. I got to know what should be done, and I was told what to be done. So I need to now work out on doing that.
So what is to be done?
You have to stop the breath.
Yeah. So that anyway was.
I just wanted to.
No. I know it because I have read it in Upanishad. I have read it in because the mind starts because of that movement.
Yes.
Of the prana, whatever.
Yes.
So if you still the prana,
Correct.
the breathing stops, and then you go back to the state where you started all this movement. So when it becomes still, it's that.
Yes, only when that mind.
No, what I thought you got special instruction how to stop the breath for you. Maybe it will not work for us. That's what I was asking.
No, it's not like that. So, thing is, yes, I got that also. What I need to do, I got to know as a vision. Number one, there are certain moral aspects which are still in WIP, work in progress. So I need to do that. Out of the five senses, two senses I'm yet to take complete control of. One is sight and one is touch. These two things are not yet completely grasped on what they are doing. whereas I'm able to have control over sound and smell and taste, but the sight and touch still not at good. Not at good means it is better than a normal human being, but still not there. And if I were to do that, it becomes all five, then the mind stops, because without the senses, the mind really doesn't exist. So the mind will be very slow, basically. That's the second thing what I need to do. And the third one I need to do is cut off the nama and rupa in everything. So let's say I had one breakfast right now. Don't evaluate that breakfast at all. Just look it as five elements being going inside. No taste, and that is working, but the touch of things which comes along with that, or recognizing somebody as a wife, or recognizing somebody as a son or home or whatever, that sight with touch still not there, yet there. So if it happens, then there is no wife forever and no son forever. Absolutely dead. They don't exist. In that nama rupa not being there, everything becomes shunya. Shunya in the sense that there is no I being there. There is nothing called as I. So when that I goes away, if I were to sit in meditation, in 5 minutes or less than that, the mind stops working. How would I come to know? Is that there is a process, the breathing, like in the 6th chapter, he explains, Krishna explains, and Buddha explains detailed about how to do it. And if we were to do it, it stops, the breath stops. If I could stop that completely, and after 20 minutes, heart will stop. So if heart stops, breath stops, the blood flow also will stop, so there is no movement at all. In that stillness, all the previous lives can be seen, because mind has stopped leading to this total consciousness appearing in all the things that was. So the mind itself sees itself. So this is the process. And this again is a process, because there is no mind except for process. So that will cut away the need for existence. Need for existence of the mind. Again, it's not that existence per se is gone. Sat, Chit, Ananda exist. But this existence of mind being independently trying to exist or showing its supremacy or whatever it is through the chitta movement which is happening is no longer there. So it is dead. So I can be dead for 7 days. So this is the process. So now I have to work out on morality even more. So from yesterday I've started, there are some gaps which I have got to know yesterday. So I'm working on those gaps. 2 is that I need to not only establish the morality but get hold of the other 2 senses, because every scripture says that you need to transcend the senses. So the mind is made out of these senses, so it has to be transcended. So mind itself has to transcend the senses. So now these 2 senses I have to win over. One is the sight and one is the touch. The 3 are there with me in the control, other 2 are not. This is the second one. Third one, I need to remove the nama and rupa in everything. So thus killing the wife in the mind, killing the husband, killing the son and daughter and house and all of that Nama and Rupa. If that is completely established, then I can go into process of stopping the breath. So once that breath doesn't exist, mind is still. So chitta vritti nirodha has happened. So there is no longer arising of the mind. So this is what I learned day before or yesterday, whatever that is. So you all have to also look at what kind of moral thing you want to build out of, whether the Buddha teaching or through Shankara or through Patanjali. These three people have explained it beautifully. Nowhere else you will find about morality. So if you apply Patanjali, then Yama and Niyama. If you apply Shankara, then the Sadhana and Chatushtaya. And if you apply Buddha, then there is 10 moral deeds or removing of 10 immoral deeds. Whichever process or methodology, this is what can be done. And two, once the moral gets completely established without a doubt, then the five senses can be tamed. Because of immorality only, the senses will behave in one particular way. When it becomes highly moral, the senses will lose its acting by itself way. So mind will then take ownership of the senses. So the sense objects, senses, body, mind, and consciousness, sense objects with which the senses were running. Mind thought that body, senses, and sense object is itself called as itself, so it started running behind that. And consciousness was unnecessarily giving that energy to the mind, and that mind was spending the energy on these three things. Now that sense object is cut, senses will not operate. If senses doesn't operate, the body no longer exists, because body is main concept of body is all about the senses and sense object and breath. These are three things, and if these three things goes away, because mind is now connected to the consciousness. So since mind is connected to consciousness, it drops off these three people. Otherwise, today the consciousness is dropped, so we are not conscious of anything, and we are only using the energy to manipulate the three through the mind. So now it is completely liberated. Liberated from the sense, objects, senses, body, and I as the mind. So instead, mind now looks towards that consciousness. And that's it. Achieved. So this also, like we have this mudra of dhyana mudra. So I was able to see that how it works. Basically, when we drop all of these. Lata, did I answer to your question? This is what I need to do. And I think this is what,
Yeah, understood. Yes.
and this is what I think everybody has to do. So there is no existence breath by breath. It is just the mind projecting like that. Okay. And the consciousness, as long as the ayu or life remains, the mind remains. When that ayu ends because of the karma ending, the mind has to go to another body or create another body in its mind. So it recreates it again. So if we don't want further birth, we have to stop the breath. So this is the jump, if we were to call that as a jump.
So stopping the breath is through pranayama or through deep meditation.
Yeah, the pranayama, what we do is not really pranayama.
My question is, in a normal way, when you stop through pranayama technique, it's not possible to drop breath because it is not with your control. It is the nature controls it. But when you get the control over this 5 our
senses,
then automatically you can control that also. That is what you are telling. So that it is not a painful process. It is a process, right?
It is a process. Even that pranayama is a process. See, now what we are doing is we are only controlling the oxygen level in the body. So when you close your nose, your mind is running, but the oxygen is the one which is blocked. That is not pranayama at all. The prana is where the prana should enter and where it should exit. It should never enter into the mind. That is pranayama.
So in the current normal situation, our prana is where? In our mind?
It's always in the mind, and the body is there. So there is more to the physicality what we do. See the
panchaprana based approach, right?
Yes.
It is there in those ways. Okay, understood. During this, when you go from transitioning from this to only, I can say, with the deep meditation, the mind, it goes to the mind. You are still not liberated, still you have that mind. So that means all this prana, now you are in 2 places because your mind will start traveling somewhere. And your body is here physically in one place. So prana is distributed between these 2 places?
No, the prana is existing. If you have seen the Panchakosha, what we did relating to Shankara, it's very clear that Annamaya Kosha has got nothing to do with Pranamaya Kosha. And prana exists due to Manas or Manomaya Kosha. And Manas exists due to the Vijnanamaya Kosha. And Vijnanamaya Kosha and all the other koshas below till the Pranamaya Kosha exist due to Anandamaya Kosha. Okay. The Annamaya Kosha is an inert object. It doesn't have itself any life. Okay. This is the first thing we need to experience. It's an experiential reality, not an intellectual reality. So first we need to experience what is Annamaya Kosha. It is like a dead log of wood. Simple. It by itself doesn't have anything. It falls like a log of wood in dream state and in deep sleep state. Okay.
Yes.
Now come to Pranamaya Kosha. Prana is created due to the mind. It is not created by itself. So there is no prana as its own self, its own independent entity. So what we are doing is, by understanding the mind, we are closing the prana, or we are stopping the prana. Mind is the center of all activity. So you have to come to the Manomaya Kosha, which has intellect. So when we come to the subtle intellect and the gross intellect is the one what we are doing today. Subtle intellect is the one which will experience. So now the mind has to be tuned through these philosophies or whatever we are trying to learn to drop the gross and look at the subtle. So when it is doing that, the Manomaya Kosha will drop. So when the Manomaya Kosha will drop, the prana no longer can trouble the mind. So intellect doesn't require so much of prana. It requires a very little of prana. But when it comes to Anandamaya Kosha, even the Vijnanamaya Kosha will not work. So this mind is now tuned towards the reality through Ananda. And this process is what is called as self-realization. So now that person is in Ananda because the senses are no longer working. Then he goes beyond, which is liberation. So what we need to do is, first we need to get rid of the body as myself. That has to go. That will not go unless the immorality goes away from us. Immorality doesn't mean that we are not ethical or anything like that. Immoral means that we have this consideration that I need to take care of this and take care of that and all of that. That I need to do this is what immoral is all about. So there is no vairagya at all. So because of that, there is still a bondage. So what needs to be established is vairagya. This is what that needs to be done. Then everything will follow. Once the vairagya gets formed, everything will follow. Just like kama gets formed, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya will get formed. Similarly, when vairagya comes in, everything else will follow.
If you have already gone there in your first attempt itself, why you would like to come back? Because you have already crossed
No,
two steps ahead of that.
No. The consciousness and the ayu still remain. So you can't kill yourself. So you're just passing your time in the samsara. See, there is an ayu, right? See, I've been blessed to stay here for, let us say there is a home, and I already paid
Prarabdha.
whatever we want to call prarabdha or whatever. So now let us say I have paid rent for in advance for 50 years, let's say. And in the 10th year of staying in that home, I get bored of staying in that home. But I have paid for 50 years and there is no refund. So what I should do now? Stay in the home, knowing very well that you have paid for 50 years. So there is no attachment to that home any longer. Earlier there was an attachment. Now there is no attachment. So you just pass your time. So in that process, you can help somebody. I can help somebody, and I can give something, give the material, give whatever is there, because I want to empty that home. So whoever comes, I'll give something and ask him to take it and go. Because if the house has to be empty on the day when I'm supposed to give the keys and he's going to give me the money or whatever it is. So let's say. So I can't cut it off saying that, okay, I'm not going to come. Then he is going to ask me to pay penalty. So instead of that, I will continue being in that home, not getting attached to the home. This is what I have to do. So I can't kill myself. So tomorrow, if I am liberated, let us say, but by tomorrow morning, if I come back and say, look, I am now liberated person, now I can stay in this state for these many days, and we will meet after 1 week from today. And when I come back, there is no person at all. He is dead. And just going to talk, just because I'm supposed to talk, that's all what it is. But this is exactly what I'm supposed to do. So I have to work on moral where there are problems, and I have to work on senses, I have to work on the nama and rupa. These three primarily I have to work extensively all the waking hours, if not sleeping hours. This is mukti, total.
Okay.
So the vision showed me everything, what I'm doing, what I'm not doing, how I'm failing, all that came into existence. So I know my failures. That much portion I know. The flaws I have come to know, then whatever things have gone well also I know. Whatever things have not gone well also I know. So I have to work out on that. Like an example, if I were to give, brahmacharya is not completely established. It is too good, but not very well established. So very well established in the sense that in all situation that establishment of brahmacharya is not there. So that is the first thing I need to work on. The remaining, there are some here and there, some issues, minor ones, but still it is a hindrance, so that has to be worked out. Otherwise, it will cause this restlessness to arise, so I need to cut that. So that has to be worked. So I have to put in effort. So this is what needs to be done. So this is about myself.
Mm.
So I have come to know all that I am failing. So I have made note of those things I need to work. So I need to extensively work. Some of them,
Okay, this is
yeah,
what you got the direction.
yes.
How is that direction has come to you? Based on what?
I don't know. Maybe because of the way I'm working, it is coming. So that's
Is it daytime or evening dream, or when you got all this?
this
During
happened
working
in the
time or
morning.
meditation time?
No, meditation time something was coming, but when this was in the morning, early morning. Okay, and I think on Thursday or Friday, I was able to see how body moves, meaning like a sand thing which is just moving. So how the consciousness moves along with that. So that was a Thursday night or Friday early morning experience. Then I think on Saturday or Sunday early morning was this vision of what I'm doing and what I'm not doing. I was awake, I was not sleeping. So it's just a vision. So in half an hour or more, it showed me what all I've done, what all I'm doing, where are the issues, and it just showed that I need to correct a lot of things. You're almost there, but not yet there. That was the message. So I need to work out. How did I get it? I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. Now, shall we start with 10th chapter?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, this is.
I need
Yeah.
to leave at 9:30, but you can continue.
No. Then we will close at 9:30. It's better, or we can discuss on this itself. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
we can close.
Yeah. In that case, I will not do the Bhagavad Gita right now. We can take it tomorrow, but we can discuss anything else relating to this, whatever I just now spoke, because it's just another 11, 12, 20 minutes more. So spending 20 minutes shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, so what you say that we have to study ourselves. We need to know where we are right now. And that nobody, we have to find it by ourselves.
Yes, through the what I understood, very good question, Lata. What I understood on due to this vision is that once you start working out extensively based upon whatever methodology you would like to follow, the vision will automatically follow. Meaning, you'll get the vision where you are and what
Hmm,
you need to do.
correct.
But when we do it like a piecemeal system, let us say for 1.5 hours or 1 hour we spend here and that's it, there ends the matter. That vision will not come because the mind is engaged with something else. So this will be an intellectual punya what we are collecting, but it doesn't really stop rebirth. So one has to literally stop everything to get into this, because this one is a samsara, it is a continuous process, it doesn't stop anywhere. So somebody dies and then again reborn in something else and continues from there. So there's nothing which is stopped. The other people who are missing, they will be in great distress, but other than that, nothing really happens. So we need to stop what we are doing. And do we really stop or not is a question, because then the question comes on the boredom. Okay, if I were to quit the job or this or that, how will I spend time? Now, the person doesn't realize that he has to spend time on this, not on that. For that, you keep on continuing the samsara. This one will stop it forever. I think in my case, this not working in an organization as an employee, and a benefit of this year is that this corona starting in March and till now it is there, and God only knows how much it will be there. But whatever it is there is helping me to deep dive into this aspect, because I've got a beautiful benefit of all the meetings I attend. Then there's nobody, right? So then once the meeting ends and all that happens, between this meeting and the next meeting, let us say, I get a good amount of time to contemplate on what did I speak, how did I speak, who made it speak, all that. So I keep on reflecting upon that. So that is what is helping. I think we all need to do something like that. Something like, after knowing the concept, we need to do it ourselves.
Yeah, I think that is true. So the instructions will come automatically.
Yes, because you know what you are. Nobody else knows better than you.
Hmm.
So the thing between all of us is that self-realization and liberation and samsara. If we are here for samsara, at least these discussions will help, and will help in the future rebirth and all that. Realization is a process itself, and you will come to know that nothing is there other than the process. So that becomes self realization, where the person doesn't get really worked up, because he knows that if somebody dies in his family or her family, okay, the process has stopped, nothing can be done. So whatever best could be done to restart the process could not happen, so the process is gone. So the person doesn't really cry or feel sad or whatever it is, because that's just a process. A machine was working and today It is not working. Okay, that's all what we can do. Liberation is that he not only feels like this, he feels he is already dead. So there is nothing like he was there to take care of this or that. So he will just do only the kriya. He doesn't do, or he does only the karya, kriya, whatever it is, just his duty, obligation. But he himself doesn't exist. So these are the three things what we have really. So depends on the interest of the person, the opportunity, what can be provided, and how the person would like to utilize it. And then the vision comes based upon whatever, just like when we are working on a project or on a technology or something, the vision comes. Oh, we have to apply like this. I think the way we are doing is not okay. And you apply and it works. Most of the time, many times I've heard Bud talking about that. When I relax and when I start thinking in a different way, answer comes and then I implement it. Or that would have happened to all of us in work. Same thing will happen in this also. There is nothing different. They both are same, but one is on a rebirth side, one is on the closure of rebirth. That's all. Like in the case of what we are doing in the organization, we are doing the same thing. There's no different. When we relax something and then we immediately get that answer, that vision, what you should be done, and we call that as intuition. This is also intuition only. So what happened day before yesterday or yesterday is in intuition only. There's nothing else than that. Since it is related to the spiritual process, it looks something different. If it was a normal technology or something which I'm working extensively and I'm supposed to fix something in a, let us say, C sharp code or on VB.net or whatever it is, and the SQL is that database is not working or the tables are misplaced and something like that, I'm supposed to fix it. And suddenly in the dream, I see myself fixing it and get the code. And in the morning, I get up, first thing, I start implementing that whatever I had seen, and it works. Then what happens? Same thing. So I would have known where the mistake I am doing. I have corrected that mistake. The code is perfect. It is working. Now I connect it to the database and I'm able to see all the fields, everything getting updated. And the front end is beautifully working. So the UI is good to be delivered. What difference that is between what I saw and what I'm doing it on a technology one? What do you think? Isn't it the same?
Yeah, one thing is at intellectual level, another thing is at spiritual level.
Correct.
So this whatever the instruction that comes from within you only, right? Your own consciousness.
Yes, your own consciousness. That
There's nothing else other than that. So that's where you get it.
yes, and we think that I am getting it.
Yeah.
That is the problem. It comes to everyone. This intuition in technology or in the work as well as spirituality both comes. That means whatever the mind puts into it, it gets that intuition or that knowledge. So right now I'm getting the knowledge of Vairagya, and outside world gets the knowledge of how to be in bondage. That's all.
Yeah, but all these kind of visions will come only when you are majority of the time you're spending on this.
Yes, very true. If I were to spend extensive time in technology, I will also be getting visions on technology.
Yeah, correct.
For